Hi everyone, this is Jim Jefferies. I'm here with Amos Gill. Welcome to the ATM podcast. Hello Gilly, how are you?
Mate, I'm good. I'm in the best city in the world. Your favourite city, New York City.
I'm
podcasting over here.
I'm paying taxes here. I'm very fond of New York. I am actually going to be in Chicago this weekend at the Vic Theatre recording my special on Friday. So if you're listening to this podcast that's just come out on Wednesday, there is a preview show on the Thursday that is not sold out, and we've just added tickets to the early and late show on Friday. We can add tickets because we blocked off some sections for cameras and stuff like that, and we've all got it set up. So there's about another 50 tickets to each show. So if you want to come to see a recording of a special, come to the Vic Theatre this Friday and come Thursday to see the preview. And you're going to be there. You'll be performing.
I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to that, mate. You've done this. This is about as tight an hour as I've ever seen. You've been doing it for a couple years. Yep. You need to put this one down because you could do it in your sleep.
I have done. I need to now. Also, what else have I got coming up, Jack? What other big gigs have I got coming up? I'm Dubai. If you want to come and see me in Dubai, I'm playing like a 4,000 seat venue, so there are tickets available for that. But I'll be coming to Dubai coming up, and Durham on the 18th, and where else, Jack?
St. Petersburg on the 30th.
St. Petersburg on the 30th, and then on the 31st, Orlando. Those gigs are actually selling really well, so come and see me in Florida. And then I'm going to be doing something in Kansas with Dr. Phil. I'm doing the Dr. Phil show, the Adam Ray Dr. Phil, but still, that's as close as I'll get to the actual Dr. Phil.
Man, look at you, Dubai and St. Petersburg in the same run. That's like a Donald Trump dream vacation.
Yeah.
St. Petersburg and Dubai.
Also, you got any gigs you want to plug?
I'm going to Toronto, and that is May 23-24. It's the end of my Canada run, which I feel like we were in Canada all year last year with the great Jimmy Carr.
I go to Canada as much as I physically can. I love the
Canadian
best audience.
It's us. It's Australians. It's American Australians.
They're
perfect crossover.
Snow Australians. That's what I call them.
Hey, I got to tell you this.
We're desert Canadians, and they're Snow Australians.
This I went to last night
with Bill Burr and
Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk, yes, Glenn Ross. Oh, that's why I said Ross.
It was awesome, man. It was really, really great, and it's always good to see. Like, I don't even know Bill, but just watching a comic there, and it took all of my strength not to yell out like "Old Billy Theatre," because all you could see in the crowd was the least Broadway audience in the history of Broadway. It was, if you're in the green room, like the bar, it was just lobby. Dudes in the lobby. It was just dudes in there like, yeah, how long you think this is going to go? Yo, wait, how much is Bill in it? Is he in it the whole time? Wasn't the most theater-going crowd ever. My girlfriend was one of the few women in there, and she loved it. I loved it. It's one of my favorite shows I've ever seen on Broadway. So it's only competing against, I watched Gypsy last time, so this was a little bit more for me. But it was great.
Yeah, well, the Gypsies, which brings us to the homeless people in LA at the moment. Yeah. I just want to say quickly, get out of the way. Obviously, I'm wearing this is a retro North Sydney Bears rugby league jersey. This is from the New South Wales Rugby League. This is from the 1990s. This is how far back this jersey goes. The Bears were kicked out in 1999, and I am happy to report to anyone who follows rugby league in America, because the Australians already know, they are now going to be called the Perth Bears, and they will be rejoining the competition in 2027. I've been fighting for this to happen for the last 26 years, and I'm very excited. I would like to live in Perth one day in my life, maybe retire out there. I went to university in Perth. I like Perth. You lived in Perth for a bit. Big fan of Perth. Yeah. I'm glad they got a rugby league team, and I'm glad it's the Bears. And I want the people of Western Australia to get behind them. I know that there's a few people who are like, oh, fucking taxpayers' money and blah, 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 blah. Well, I tried to invest in it, but the government wanted to take over the job. So don't blame me, but I'll be at any game that I can go to. And I'll be watching on the telly from afar, and I hope we get some good players. It's going to be tough. But you know what? The Bears started in 1908 and never bloody won a premiership in the entire time. So we're starting at the same position we ended.
You never won. Your team has never won a flag.
They won like I think 11 and 12. I think because but there was no grand final. That was just like the Premier League where whoever finished top of the table got to win it, right? They never won a grand final. Never won one. In my lifetime, they got bloody close. They almost got in there and stuff like that. They broke your heart year after year after year. I have a fondness for teams that don't win. I follow the Clippers. I follow Fulham. I follow the Bears. My only team that's like a championship
You're a Democrat?
I'm a Democrat. My only team that's a championship-worthy team is the Dodgers. But apart from that, I've always gone for the underdogs. And the Bears have a very soft spot in my heart. And come on, the Bears! And I would like to thank Billy Moore and Greg Florimo and Daniel Dixon for all the work that they've put in over the years, and they've never given up, and they've kept on plugging it. And Greg Florimo was my hero growing up. When I was a kid, when they said, you do something when you're in year 5 or something, they'd go, write a letter to somebody that you admire, and someone would write a letter. I always wrote to Greg Florimo, right? I wrote to Greg Florimo all the time. I sent him these letters. I never got a letter back. I never got anything back from Greg, right? Anyway, so I was at the North Sydney Bears, their clubhouse, North's Leagues, about year and a half ago when they were talking about bringing the Bears back, and they brought me up there for an interview, and I didn't need the interview. I just spoke passionately about the Bears in front of all the old Bears players, all my childhood heroes were there. And I said, except I don't want to be nice to Greg Florimo, because Greg Florimo, I wrote you 2 fucking letters and you never wrote back to me, right? And I told him off, right? Anyway, I go off to have a piss or something, and I come back to my seat, and on my table is a little note, and it's like this: "Hello, Jeffrey. It's such. I really enjoyed your letters." Right? So,
he probably had CTE, the poor bastard, and you're having a go at him for not understanding comprehension.
He still coaches teams and stuff. He was an amazing player. He was one of these guys that would have had a bigger career if there was Laurie Daly, who played his position at the same time. So he did play for Australia. He played for New South Wales, but he was under-recognised as one of the greats, in my opinion, Greg Florimo.
Don't you think, as you talk about this, I don't know a single soul, and I'm a big sports person. I can enjoy every sport on the planet. And when you grow up in South Australia, and I was at WA, and WA had Western Force, rugby union, but our little country, which loves sports, it is weird that AFL, NRL divide, that we can't just go, I have this team in the rugby and this time in the AFL. We kind of, you have to pick your lane for a lot of people, AFL versus NRL. Whereas in America, you kind of have a soft spot for a team in every division, whether you give a fuck about the sport or not.
There's so many cities in America that if you live in Denver, you follow the Denver Broncos, right? Now, there's New York and LA are the exceptions to the rules, because we have 2 teams, 2 basketball teams, 2 football teams, 2 baseball teams. Both of LA and New York have that, right? But if you go to these other cities, if you go to Pittsburgh, you're following the Penguins, you're following the Steelers. This is what you're following. You don't go to school and have arguments, right? Now, if you're following the rugby league, where I grew up was equidistant between North Sydney and Manly, and most of the kids were going for Manly, and then I had to go for North Sydney, and you'd get into fights in the schoolyard about it. You know what I mean? My son has problems now being a Clippers supporter because everyone follows the Lakers. But in Australia, as you said, You can't even just pick your team. You have to pick your sport.
A code,
A code. And now soccer's come in a little bit. And that's the only thing that we sort of. That's the one thing about cricket. No, if anyone watches cricket, you'll think, I should follow the Sydney cricket team or something like that. No, you follow Australia, and that's it. And Australia plays year round, just travels around the world, playing in countries. By the way, which brings us seamlessly into what's going on in Pakistan and India. They seem to not be getting along.
They should have a cricket match about it and move on. It would be for the betterment of the world. I think if there's one thing that the British Empire has taught us is have an Ashes-like tournament where, I don't know, what's the disputed area? Kashmir?
Yeah. Have an Ashes-like tournament, but the Ashes is the city.
It's the city.
Because if you don't know what the Ashes is, the biggest cricket tournament is between Australia and England, and the trophy is about 2 inches tall, and it's filled with ashes. It's a little urn filled with ashes that were burnt down from stumps. It's a long story that we're not going to get into right now. But India and Pakistan, they hate each other. They've hated each other forever, and then they go out and play cricket against each other. It's pretty awesome, really. They still compete in a sport and then bomb each other the next day. It's kind of remarkable. But
Well, like I said, if you thought it was good when we had the Canada-America tariff hockey match that had some gusto, right now, if they go ceasefire and right on the battlefield, we play a T20 cricket game.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fairer than whatever else we're doing right now.
Well, I don't quite know the ins and outs of what's going on in India and Pakistan, so I don't really want to get involved.
It's hard to know the ins and outs of fucking anything at this point.
Look,
don't leave the house.
I have a wife who's of Indian ethnicity, and I asked her, and she didn't bloody know. So why should I know? I was FaceTiming my dad, and the news was on in the background, and I said, "Oh, they're dropping bombs on Pakistan right now." And he goes, "And you know what my dad said? Oh, that was bound to happen."
He's not wrong.
And I'm like, why? What's going on there? Oh, something always going on there. That was just bound to happening. It's always been simmering, he said.
Yes, like a biryani. It's been simmering away for days. Mate, it's like everything at the moment is insane. All I've got to distract myself is I go into the world of the news, which is horrific, and then I retreat to sports. And listening to you talk about the Bears, I don't know. Like, I'd love to say I'll get behind them because it's your team, you know, and but I was, the other day, I looked at everything I'm watching. I don't know if you feel this way at all. I've got AFL teams. I've got English Premier League, Champions League, the Europa League. I've been watching the NBA. I watch the NHL because I like the Edmonton Oilers. And not only do I like watching the sport, I would say I don't even like watching the sport as much as I like watching the fallout to the sport, where I go on like YouTube and watch commentators getting angry about the performance of certain players. So I'm up to, on the average day now, 6 to 7 hours of not only highlights, but analysis. And I've lost my fucking life.
Yeah, but this isn't a bad thing. This is, okay, so my father is in his 80s and his whole life is watching soccer and rugby league. That's his whole life.
Yeah.
He watches like 3 sporting events every single day. 3 games. Right? Wakes up in the morning and he'll have a Premier League game that he'd recorded from the night before that he hasn't heard of, that it's on DVR, starts with that, then watches a bit of rugby league, then watches the news, then watches a bit of rugby league at the end, right? Football, NRL, right? He's happy as fucking shit, mate. That's all there is to life. See, women will never truly get sports because they don't understand, in the same way that we don't understand the Real Housewives of fuckface, right? Because you're watching a show that you can watch for the rest of your life. You know how you have a TV program you love? If you're not into sports, you have a TV program you love. You have a TV program for the rest of your life, and you can follow the dramas of the highs and lows. And we're not dumb.
And a matching outfit.
Yeah, I understand that I'm watching a game and it's not important. I understand that quintessentially it's not an important thing that I'm watching. But it is, though. It is important because I've made it important. It's the same way that I like collecting sports cards, and they're made of cardboard. And they're worthless, but they are worth something because they're old and they're how the quality of the product or whatever. You know
I do agree, though. I used to, a lot of my really revolutionary left-wing friends from university, they would always say, as a big sports fan, they'd say, Amos, this is bread and circuses of the Roman Empire to distract the masses while the elite run the world. All you do is get angry at watching the ball go around, and it's there to distract you, because if we didn't have sports, all of these people would choose to direct their anger to inequality or to what's the injustices. And it's like, I sometimes agree, because I look at sports analysts and I think, like, in Australia, Jason Dunstall or David King or, what's his name in America that everyone likes? Stephen Naismith, and fucking, who's the guy that you like on sports radio?
Oh, I listen to Colin Cowherd.
These dudes, if they were breaking down...
The Herd doesn't even talk to anyone else. He just talks by himself. And he's a top 10 and the Pac-12 and this player over here. And really, he's not in the conversation of the greatest of all time. If I have to listen to another conversation, whether who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan, I'll be very happy about it. Because I can listen to that conversation all day. And it's the same conversation going around in a circle. I know more about sports than I do about what's happening in the world. And I'm happy.
That's what I'm saying.
Escapism.
If Naismith and Cowherd and all these great, like the talk sport people in the UK breaking down these alpha male men used to be generals on battlefields, but now they're generals in the field of basketball and football. And I really think if their brains were turned to solving the world's problems, we would potentially know more and win more victories because they are the true geniuses of our time. Just watching them analyze, but it's limited to just the court.
Yeah.
But if you watch Shaq and Charles Barkley on that show, you're like, you're not meant to be doing this. In a past life, you are meant to be a chief, and I will die for you. You are a strong alpha
Shaq's
mate.
meant to be an ogre living under a bridge.
I'd go to die for those dudes, man, if they were my leader. Instead, we get the dregs that go into the politics. In any other time, the athletes, like the top tier athletes, the Bradys or whatnot, would be our leaders and would deliver us better outcomes. And that's what I think when I watch sport. I think all these hundreds of thousands of people, like I was walking home from a gig last night in New York and the Knicks won, and Tatum busted out his Achilles, it looked like, in that game. So that might be the end of him. The fucking jubilation on the streets of New York. It is ultimately all we've got.
Yeah.
Common people. It's all we've got.
My son today is playing a Little League playoff game. Loser goes home, which is weird because they're already going home that day anyway.
Yeah.
It's all in the same zone. I'm looking forward to it more than anything. I've been looking forward to it all week. And I'm talking to him like this. Hey, go out there and practice your pitching. Practice your hitting. All right, I'm going to throw you some grounders. I haven't once asked the cunt to do homework.
Of course. Because you don't go in the classroom and watch him. You know what I mean? You're not watching him. You would get your kids, this is how performative of a parent you are. If there was a two-way glass and you could sit in the classroom and watch him nail an algebraic equation and get a gold star, you'd make him study more because you're like, I fucking watched him. Look at him. Hey, he nailed that presentation. But baseball is where you are on the line because all the other dads, I know what you're thinking. You're like, look at my fucking son, eh?
Well, the problem is the other dads can actually train the child up because they've played baseball and they're coordinated, and I'm not. So I always marvel when he does something athletic because I was so unathletic. But yeah, no, you're right. The other day I said to him, I thought I should check in on his schooling, and I went like this. I went, hey, mate, you have any exams lately? And he goes, yeah, we just had the final year exams. Did ya? How did you go? I went all right. Oh, good. You know, that was the whole conversation. Well, I'll wait for the report card. What am I going to do? I'll wait and see if the school calls me. He does his homework. He comes home. I go, have you done your homework? And he's like, yep. And that's, you know, I don't.
That's the extent of it.
Well, I tried helping him once. Okay, so they were making us do something online, right? And it was mathematics. And me and his grandmother, who's my wife's mother, so his step-grandmother, right? But they're very close, those two. And me and his grandmother, he goes, I can't log into the thing, and I'm not quite sure what I'm meant to do with these questions, and can you come and help me? And then I was looking at it was some long division thing, and I said, don't worry about it. I said, we'll fucking get it done. Go watch some telly. Don't worry about it, right? Like this, because he'd been working hard. So I filled out his bloody exam, right? Worst mark the cunt's ever gotten. Worst mark he's ever gotten in school, right? Me and the grandmother, we failed. We got like 60% or something. I couldn't do basic math. Well, I couldn't do year 5 mathematics.
What I love is you listen to people talk about America and they go, the immigrant kids do the best because their parents come here like, we've sacrificed a lot. And so you have this opportunity to be great. And the parents flog them to succeed. Not Aussie immigrants.
they're not talking about the minority of the British Australian child. Right, because my child's half Canadian, half Australian. My other child's half British, half Australian. And, we're not pushy parents. We don't push them too hard.
No. You know what we push our kids to do? See, immigrant parents are like, you need to be good at math, science to get into tech and AI. And, like, that is one thing about white privilege, if you want to talk about it, is we go, look, mate, just be charismatic. You're already going to be fine. You just need to know how to be cool.
My parents, the only thing, they didn't care that much about school. My father was illiterate. My father dropped out of school at 14, became a carpenter, and my mother was more. She wanted us to pay rent more than anything. That was her big goal: is that we would be earning enough money to pay rent while we lived in the house. So my parents were all about work ethic, and it actually served me well throughout my life. I've got a very good work ethic. I've always had a good work ethic. You know, if you watch over the course of my career, I haven't stopped touring for 20 years, and I've been doing a new show every bloody year. You know what I mean? That's a big workload, but I have a good work ethic. But my parents never pushed me to do homework, never pushed me to do assignments. They pushed me to work at McDonald's. Was the most important thing for them.
So your mum was more of like a cartoonish landlady.
Yeah, mate. The day I left school.
I'll have it next week, Mrs. Nugent.
The day I left school, I started paying board. It's time for you to pay board, right? So one week after I left school, because that was a week that I lived free, I had to give $80 Australian in 1994 to live. It was the exact amount of money that I couldn't afford to leave the house, and I couldn't save money up. It was the exact amount of money to keep me poor and at home. It did all the stuff. And then she'd go, oh, I do your washing and you get fed. That's a bloody good deal. And so Monday mornings, this is how you'd wake up. This gnarled up claw would just be like this. That would come to your face like this. This hand would be like this, just going bored. That was the first thing that would happen on a Monday morning. You'd have to give mum $80, and then you'd have to live your life.
Do you think she would have evicted you?
Oh yeah. Look.
Yeah.
Look. I tell you what. I could ring up either one of my brothers right now, and they will tell the same story. In fact, they will be, because Danny paid $80 as well, and he was 7 years ahead of me. I actually got out of it quite cheap. He was paying $80 a week in fucking 1989. 1988.
Yeah, inflation adjusted, you did very, very well. See, I'm from a WOG family, so it was like...
All right, they want you to live there forever. That's very important that you live there forever.
I saw a stat the other day. Croatians apparently are some of the oldest to leave the nest ever. And I have an uncle called Mile who still lives with my grandparents to this day. In his 50s, he's like, was it Robert from Everybody Loves Raymond? But he kind of has to pay it back now because she has dementia and he takes care of my grandmother. But
it goes full circle. But Greeks, I remember, they were always living home. They don't want the children to leave the home. You stay here and save up, and you can buy a house. And you left home in a Greek family when you got engaged, when you got married, not even engaged. When you got married.
Yeah, to be married. Yeah.
When you got married, that's when you moved into a new house.
But the economy is so bad.
So
now,
you'd still be living there forever.
We're basically making everyone Greek now because people can't leave home anymore. Like kids can't get houses. It's becoming financially impossible. And so everyone is going to get the joy of having the Greek experience or the Croatian, Italian experience of living with your family forever, just without ethnic parents, which means no one's happy about it because Aussie families want you fucking gone.
Well,
White parents
when I moved out at
out.
home, and I moved to Perth for university for $80 a week, the same price for $80 a week. I lived in the back of an old gay guy's house in a garage that had like a mattress that looked like someone had been murdered on it. That was a single bed. I lived in a single bed, and I brought me telly in, and I had a little hot plate and a microwave, and that's all I had. And my whole wall of my apartment had a roller door that went up like that for me to go. Yeah. If I wanted to shower, I had to go into his house, and then I had to come back out again. Oh, it was not good. It was not good. The amount of just masturbating I did in that shed to stave off depression was outrageous.
Mate, when I left home, I stayed in someone's garage on a mattress on the floor for 3 months next to Greg Fleet when he was kicking heroin.
So what, this last year, was it?
I'll never forget that. I spoke to my mum, lived in Perth. My dad wanted me out of the house. My dad and I had
How old are you? How old are you when this happened?
I actually moved out at about 19 because I live with my dad. So my dad was...
I was 20.
The difference between
19,
Anglo parents versus ethnic parents is, right, one thing all Anglo parents will say to you is this phrase, I've done my time. Okay? That's how they see parenting as, I've done my time. You've got to get out. No ethnic parent ever says, I've done my time. That's a commitment for life. And so my dad and I started no longer seeing eye to eye because I was a little wanker. Okay? So my dad grew up in the country, not a wealthy guy.
This is during your Russell Brand era where you had the big hair and you were presenting TV in some very skinny
100%.
jeans. Yes, okay.
So my dad is as fucking country down the line Aussie bloke as there is. And at this point, I'm influenced by Russell Brand. Not sexually, just hairline. I had puffed up hair. I was just a little punce doing comedy, which my dad, every time I'd go to a gig, right? Because I started about 18, 19. Dad would go, see you later, Seinfeld, because it's the only comedian he knew. He goes, how much you getting paid tonight, Seinfeld? Oh, yeah? What are they paying you? One beer? Oh, that's a career. Good on
What's
you,
the deal with
Seinfeld.
not being paid anything and being like Russell Brand?
And so because I had some wanker friends as well, who I look back on now, who were rich kids, and we weren't rich, but I had some rich kid friends. I remember the day I got kicked out of home with my dad, this was the argument. And I look back at it and laugh now. Dad goes, we'll cook up burgers for dinner tonight, eh? So he's cooking up the burgers. And I said, what are we having for the bun? And he goes, what do you mean bun? We got white bread. And I go, shouldn't we get a brioche down the supermarket? We can just get a brioche burger bun. That'd be better.
Oh,
mate.
You're just like your mother, aren't you?
Oh,
Nothing's
mate.
good enough for you, is it? You couldn't fucking handle just a bit of white bread like a normal kid, not fucking Amos. Am I getting
That
it right?
goes-
Am I getting it right?
I will never forget. He smacked down the frying pan. He goes, brioche, fucking brioche. Everything's got to be fucking European fancy. You can't have white bread. Oh, your mum was always too far. I wasn't fucking good enough for your mother. Oh, it's got to be the finest. What cheese should we put? Camembert fucking bear? Oh, that's never good enough. Well, why don't you fuck off, mate? This is a white bread house, not a brioche house. And to this,
Australian white bread is the very best, though. Is the very best. A bit of tip top. I would love a burger and a bit of tip top. I would love
you
it.
would have see. My dad wishes he had you, but all I did was suggest that we'd buy the brioche bread. And my little brother was more my dad's man. And my brother came up to me and goes, "This, why you always got to go fancy? You got to get kicked out of the house. Keep it simple. You're threatening dad. You're saying he's not a good enough dad because he can't provide us brioche." I was like, mate, brioche is $4. And so I went, I'm out of here. And then I went and lived at a Adelaide comedy promoter's garage. And he goes, you can stay here, fella, but Greg Fleet's kicking heroin. So I went from wanting brioche to basically watching a man slurp on his methadone and have cold sweats. But I was like, I'm a fucking artist. I'm like Russell Brand in the flop house. I'm living the comedy dream.
How many wanks did you have while Fleety was passed out on smack?
No, I didn't have any, but I will. I don't want to. Maybe we can beat this guy's name. You can tell me if it's because all the comedians that would come through stayed there with me. This is a fucking garage, dude. Chris Franklin went in there and he went to a strip club, and I heard him have a wank when he got back, and he didn't know I was in
I don't
there.
think Franklin's going to be upset. We're big fans of Chris Franklin. We like. We're friends with Chris Franklin. No problem with Chris Franklin.
Yeah. And he was blind out of his. And I'm like 18, 19. He doesn't know I'm in there, and I swear to God, I could smell scurvy in the cum. It was a horrible, horrible life at the beginning. That's what comedy does.
Scurvy in the cum.
Yeah, just like.
I don't think it's the cum. I think it's just the dick is just starting to smell from the sweats and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know when you.
But actually, can I link this to our first bit of material for the day about the news?
Sure.
Somehow.
I thought we were doing that.
So we discuss all the time family life and the complications of siblings and me, a son of a farmer from the country Australia, and then I became a little bit of a wanker going to law school, and I had European ancestry with my mother. We'd always clash. You got to think about the biggest clashing family in America this year, I think. We've got an American Pope, which I don't know if we've discussed.
Bob Pope.
Bob Pope. Bob Pope has a brother who's moved to Florida. He's got another brother that's in Chicago.
First of all, Bob Pope is a White Sox fan, so he's a bit down and dirty, right? That's your rougher team. He's not going for the Cubs. He's a White Sox guy. Carry on. He's a White Sox guy.
So he's got a brother that sort of said that he disagrees with Trump's immigration stuff. Okay, so some people are like, oh, okay, like he's a Republican leaning, obviously, because he's a Catholic conservative, but hates the MAGA stuff about immigration. But then he's got another brother called Louis Provost who lives in Florida. And already the living in Florida should give you a clue. He's an immigrant to Florida from Chicago.
Yeah.
They've found Facebook posts from Louis where he goes on rants about Nancy Pelosi, one of which he says, have a look at this drunk cunt.
Yeah.
And then when he was called on it, he said, what can I tell you? I'm a MAGA type. I got my beliefs. And I'm not changing just because my brother's a pope.
A pope? Not the Pope. A Pope. Did he say a Pope?
I've just written down here because a Pope, but I might be making that quote.
I hope he called him a Pope. I hope he doesn't know that there's not multiples.
Yeah, he's not my Pope. He's my brother. He's a dipshit.
How's the new Pope being received? Is he being received well? People seem to like this new Pope. Is he doing good work?
I don't. You know what? It's like
he's
there's a lot
fairly
of
progressive,
fanfare.
isn't he? He's fairly progressive, sort of a Pope.
Well, for Catholics, but he's still, he's still anti-abortion, and he doesn't want, no gays in there and no female priests and whatnot. But
no gays,
I just think
no gays in the priesthood. It's going to be hard, isn't it?
well, as the last Pope said, too much fagocino, or what was it, fagotti or whatever in the Vatican. But I just wanted to talk to you about. Apparently, I don't know whether is the Pope allowed to go. Let's think about this to his Thanksgiving in Chicago.
Of course.
And is he? I don't, because the last Pope didn't ever go back to Argentina. But if he does, you have to think there's a world.
So you think once you're the Pope, you have to stay in the Vatican, you have to stay in Italy. You can't
unless it's like on a tour. It's on tour.
You can, what you reckon? You reckon he can't just go to the White Sox game and then go see his brothers and hang out for a bit?
I don't think you get like a week. I don't think you get a weekend off being the Pope where you're like, I'm going to get a deep dish pizza, have a few pints, and watch the baseball.
I'm gonna have a hot dog that has a spear of a pickle in it and a couple of chunks of tomato. I've never gotten that hot dog they sell there, but I will be there doing my special next week. Hey, come and see me. I'm like the Pope. This week, fucking hell, I better write some jokes.
But imagine what it's like knowing your brother's the Pope. Like it's got to be. You got to look at your own life and you think, man, my brother ended up like. Whoever thinks my brother's going to be the Pope? Particularly out of America.
Yeah, you don't think he's going to be the Pope. But like, okay, so you're saying, okay, I understand he can't go home for Christmas, right? Because he's got Pope duties at Christmas.
Although, that's a great movie because there's always movies about getting home for Christmas to Chicago. Particularly
yeah. Planes, trains, and popes.
Planes, trains, and Popemobiles.
So he's not going to do Christmas, but he can do Thanksgiving, surely. Surely Thanksgiving, because that's an American holiday. The Italians aren't going to miss him on Thanksgiving.
On that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'd imagine he'd lead the blessing.
And then also, how good would it be? We'll go around the table. You say what you're thankful for. I'm thankful that I'm the Pope.
Yeah. Then I bet you the MAGA brother would be like, oh, yeah, you're a fan of Thanksgiving, eh? Or you're going to lecture me about the genocide of the native people, you fucking woke prick.
You think the Pope is woke with his?
According to his brother, he's too woke.
As Trump commented?
Yeah, he says, well, of course, he's saying, like, I promised a golden age for America, and now we've got an American Pope. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon Iran folded and we had an American Muslim become the Ayatollah. And if we can potentially get an American Dalai Lama, we get the trifecta over here.
The Dalai Lama has always been one that's weird to me. Like, you're just born into it. And then, like, everyone thinks the Dalai Lama's fucking awesome, right? Except for when he was just, like, licking a child. That was one of his faux pas. But apart from that, everyone's always quoting him like, yeah, he's all right. And then he's like, touch my tongue.
Explain this to me. So the Dalai Lama dies, and then they're like, he's reincarnated to another body.
Yeah.
How do they pick like who that went? Like, could it be?
You just go down to an orphanage and you do many, mighty moo.
Because Steve Jobs was a Buddhist. Is there a world where like it could be a Silicon Valley tech bro?
No, it's a child, right? They pick a child and
they just pick a child, a random child.
Yeah, there's like you have to be a Buddhist. It can't be like some bloody kid in Israel or something. You got to be a Buddhist. You can't.
Yeah, right.
We're not going to have a Chicago Dalai Lama. I'll tell you
That's what I'm looking for.
Right. No. We're not going to have it. And they just go down to like, they go to their families and go, are you Buddhist? And are you pregnant? Right. Well, when it comes out, we'll have a look at it. Right. And then they go, this one's all right. This one's good to go. And then the one that came up, people would watch him talk. People watch him talk, think he's wonderful. Wonderful. They think, this guy's a genius. It's just like being in the royal family. It's rubbish.
Well, okay, so you could get a real dunce.
Yeah.
Who just grows up a proper, like, you can
pick one. You can pick one that you didn't know was autistic until it was too late. And then you have a TV show called Dalai Laming on the Spectrum.
Because that's like dangerous, man. Because imagine if it was just Catholics get randomly chosen to be a pope, you could end up with some like New Jersey mobster who's a Catholic. It's like, oh, what are you gonna do? You whack them, you ask for forgiveness. Ooh.
Do you reckon that the other Cardiffs were upset? They're Cardiffs, right?
Cardiff's the city in Wales.
Which the ones? What's the ones?
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
The baseball.
Like
the
baseball
team.
team.
Yeah.
Do you reckon the baseball teams, the other baseball team, were they upset by the new pope, or do you reckon like because there's always this is my fourth pope in my lifetime, right? And every time a new pope's coming on, they always do this. We reckon this one might be black. Every year we go, well, this one might be black, and then it doesn't happen. Do you think an American pope is more of a minority than a black guy?
Well, my personal belief is I think they chose him, one, because he's American, but also a Latin American, like he's a Peruvian guy, so he speaks the Spanish, plus he's American. I think my theory is they kind of used him as a way to be a check and balance on Donald Trump and his anti-Latin American immigrant check. And so that's why they picked him. The Italians wanted their OG guy. Yeah. And then apparently they went for this guy because he was sort of quiet and didn't want it.
All right, so Australia has the Labor Party. Canada has a left-wing party. We have a pope. So all these push dominoes just because of Donald Trump. So you think everything's reactionary to Donald Trump?
There's a lot of reactions to Donald Trump for sure. You know, because the Catholic Church, for all its conservatism, when it comes to immigration, they're a real good Samaritan open door policy. So they push back on that regard, you know. And so I think he'll speak a lot about treating Latin American immigrants better. That's my prediction.
But now that, seamlessly going to the next topic, now that Donald Trump's a Muslim.
Well, he is. He's a Muslim who is currently building some hotels in Mecca.
Yeah, he just got given a plane from the Saudis, right? Or is that Qatar?
No, so Qatar. He's been given a $400 million Qatar Airways jet while Boeing tries to construct the new ones, which I don't think we can be doing that because he says it's for the country, which it is for the president, and then it's going to go to his personal library once he retires. What's
wrong with the jet we've already got? What's wrong with Air Force One?
It's 30 years old, and so Boeing's currently making the two new ones, and it's gone well over budget. And he's gone, fine, I'll just accept this gift from Qatar because, you know, there's no way that Qatar would ever ask for anything in return.
I tell you what, man, I'm about to gig in Dubai. The Middle East, in many ways, have got their shit together. In many ways, not in other ways, they're doing terrible jobs, right? But in many ways, they've got their cities are shiny and new. I think if you got a plane from Qatar, like remember how angry everyone was with the World Cup, right?
Of course.
We can't have the World Cup there. They don't know what they're doing. That World Cup was a fucking banger. It was a banger. Everyone had a good time and everyone was drinking outside the stadium. Yeah. Everyone reckoned it was really good. And it was great to watch on TV. It was wonderful on TV.
Well, he did a great speech. He had one good speech. He's done like accepting this Qatar Force One and then having it for yourself. No good, Donald. If Joe Biden had accepted that, the MAGA world would blow up and be like, he's a Arab puppet. He's enriching himself. Him and Hunter are doing coke in that fucking jet. It's a disgrace. So you got to stay consistent. You can't be accepting your Air Force One from Qatar.
What, are you speaking out against Donald Trump and I'm saying that he should get the plane?
Of course. He can't
Have we flip-flopped?
We flip-flop all the time. You got to call them as you see them. Here's another one. The Saudi deal is big, though. $600 billion of them investing. So it seems like he's sort of venturing away from Israeli stuff. And now he's going over to, like I said, he's talking about business and investments, and maybe he's got his own hotel chains going up there.
A free plane is a free plane, man. If anyone offered you a free plane, brand new, you'd take it.
Well, it's fucking tough because I could be bribed with my number's low.
You'd take a free glider, hang glider. One of those suits with wings in it. You'd take.
To be honest, I wouldn't take a hang glider from anyone from the Middle East. I'd want to know what they'd used it on before.
Well, what you're saying? There's a terrorist attack with hang gliders? What are you saying?
Yeah, October 7 was a hang glider attack. That's what I thought you were talking about.
Palestinian-Israeli thing.
Really? Because hang gliders, I got to pay more.
Did you just accidentally invent a terror attack in your head? Are you the mastermind of this?
Really? So they all came in on hang gliders?
Yeah.
I should check the news out a bit more.
Dude, you're like a guy who's been in a coma.
After I finished the Jim Jefferies show, I was like, that's me and the news done. I don't want to fucking know anything more going on in the world. It's given me too much grief in my life. Everyone fucking hates you when you talk about it. I said, that's me and the news done.
Oh, mate. I remember when you were doing that show and you'd be like, how come no one sees me like Jon Stewart? And I was like, well, he does make that his entire...
I never said that ever. I never, ever said, how come no one sees me like Jon Stewart? Maybe John Oliver. Maybe John Oliver. But
John Oliver.
I never thought anyone should see me as Jon Stewart. I'm not intelligent enough to be Jon Stewart.
John Oliver. Let's go with John Oliver.
I'm intelligent enough to be John Oliver. I've met him.
You were paying attention at that time.
My show, the Jim Jefferies show, out of the Daily Show, the John Oliver show, and the Jim Jefferies show, you fucking watch it back, is the funniest one pound for pound. Now, did you learn much? Maybe. Maybe not. I was learning as we went along as well, but it was a funny show. It was a very funny show. There was some good interviews, some very good field pieces. It was very funny.
But yeah, so I don't care which way you feel about it. Trump's speech in Saudi was good, where he basically said, we've spent 20 years and talking about accepting a jet.
I feel like I'm a moron now, not knowing the hang glide thing. That's going to haunt me for days. I have a bad memory. It'll go away.
Mate, it's different when you've got kids. It's like, mate, what benefit does it serve to be looking at this all day? This is true
what you're saying with the kids, right? Because you do start blocking out news because you go, I just have to focus on these two people and make sure that they grow up okay and all that type of stuff. And then my father didn't really follow the news that much when I was a kid. And now that we're moved out of the house, he's obsessed with the news. He watches sport and the news, and that's his whole day. And I can tell you that Donald Trump isn't doing a good job. And I'll tell you how I know. Because my dad's like this. Oh, well, he's mixing things up, but it's best not to watch it. That's the first time my dad said it's best not to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's big for him.
That's
because he's been treating it like a victory parade.
Yeah. He thought that he was going to be every day going, oh, he bloody did that good. He's done this good. But maybe the new plane might be a good move.
But what my point is that it's nice to see in the Middle East after 20 years of us going over there and destabilizing them, trying to install governments that, like you said, yes, many of their countries do underpay workers. It's semi-slavery, but I'd rather what they've got there than what we've got in Yemen with open slave markets, beheadings, mass amounts of terror. Dubai, Qatar, built of bad foundations. But what country isn't? Our country is built of slavery initially, same with the British Empire.
You can say it's bad foundations, but they built a hotel on the water. So that takes pretty good foundations to be able to do that.
And Donald Trump also just got a new deal called McDonald's, which is he's going to have a fun.
You get nuggets with your meal. That's your side. Instead of fries, you get nuggets. And the toy is just like, it's like Grimace, but he's orange.
Mate. So anyway, that's what's going on over there.
What's the Donald Trump deal? What's the Donald Trump mega deal?
No, I'm joking. McDonald's. It's a mix of American and Arab.
Oh, I thought that was a real thing, and I was making a joke.
You think he's actually doing McDonald's?
Yeah, why not? They have McDonald's out there. I've eaten McDonald's in Dubai.
I know. That was a bad joke from me. I do want to talk about this. Speaking of the theme of Jews versus Muslims and whatnot, it's a weird time.
What do you mean, speaking of the
Middle East?
Who said
that's
Jews
what the Middle East
versus
is.
Muslims?
Well, how else could you sum up with Pakistan, India?
There's something going on over there.
It's not good.
Okay.
But I will say the online anti-Semitism, everyone's talking about this, the growth of it. And we're not going to wade into that. I want to wade into something that Kanye West has done.
Kanye West tweeted out, "I'm a Nazi."
Oh no, mate! You really don't watch anything, do you? So let me set the scene for you. This morning, I went and got a bagel from New York.
Hey, whoa!
From New York.
It's the only place to get a real bagel with a schmear.
They don't do it anywhere else. But I went and got a nice schmear bagel from Apollo Bagels. Walking through the East Village, coming back to the hotel. This car pulls up at the traffic lights and there's thumping rap music. I immediately recognized the song. I was blown away. This man in a car was playing Heil Hitler by Kanye West, his new song, which is banned from the internet.
Yes.
I must say, a lot of people were listening to this Many people nodding their head along because the beat is good. The message is tough. The beat is good. This is not good.
Okay. Well, is this how Hitler did it to begin with? Just a bit of
All
rhythm.
I could you
Simple
imagine?
salute, a simple handshake that we can all figure out right away. That's always been my problem with people, complicated handshakes. It's a simple thing and a bit of a strong message is what you're saying.
What I was saying is, if you think about it, a song that goes, have you heard it?
No.
The song?
I haven't. How would I hear it if it's banned on the internet? I don't know how to get songs on Spotify. Where do you get it? Where do you get the song?
Where do you think you'd get it? Where would you find something anti-Semitic?
On the dark web.
Reddit.
X.
Oh,
X or Reddit. But it's getting hundreds of millions of views just on the internet. And, man, we're in a wacky world where you've got...
Sing it for me.
Well, the weird part is,
Give me the
I
hook.
can see
Give me
how
the hook.
Hitler...
I'll tell you if it's any good. Does it go,
so it's
come on,
basically...
Hitler, let's go party. Oh, yeah. Like, what does it go? Give it to me.
All right, can I just I'll find the actual lyrics because I'd hate to misquote it. I'd hate to...
Sure. You wouldn't want to make him seem like a bad dude.
No, I want to make sure we get this 100% correct.
Yeah, does Kim Kardashian just sit back with her kids like this? Yeah, dad's a different sort of dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you don't want to speak ill of someone's father. It's like the worst thing that Kanye West ever did was get his daughter to sing in The Lion King. It can't be worse than this. What's happening?
Okay, so the lyrics basically go, man, these people took my kids from me. Then they froze my bank account. I got so much anger in me. Got no way to get it out. People don't understand what I'm saying on Twitter. And then he says, N-word, Heil Hitler. N-word, Heil Hitler. And but this is what's great about it.
But he does know how Hitler felt about guys like him, right? Hitler wasn't a fan of black people, right?
Well, I don't imagine when Adolf Hitler thought of the Third Reich, he thought one day we're going to set up an empire, strong, powerful, Teutonic German, where a proud black man will be the anthemic. He thought it was going to be Wagner. He didn't think
like
that
if he didn't like Jesse Owens, you got to think he wouldn't have been a big Kanye guy.
Is it true that he didn't like Jesse Owens? I thought he congratulated Jesse Owens, but his thing with I believe
you've gone to the other side. He hated Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens is winning all the gold medals and all that type of stuff. He hated that.
No, but I heard.
Oh yes,
and obviously he was. I heard from Jenna Goebbels. She's my next door neighbor. I heard that he was unhappy, obviously, that the German lost. But
Jenna
his thing
Goebbels
is that
a good name for a porn star.
German porn star.
Yeah.
I heard that he was really unhappy the German lost, but then he was angry that America gets. Now, this might have just been from Inglourious Bastards, but remember, I think it was Goebbels that said something like America's success can be measured in Negro sweat, which was you're not better than us. You've just got Africans, and they're an elite group, and you're not. As in, we're the best whites. So don't go bragging about your medal count.
So you think that Hitler always thought that black people were better? He just wanted to produce the best whites.
I think, he obviously had to recognize that they were athletically superior.
All right,
but he wanted to be the superior whites.
So he wanted to be Steve Nash and Luka Doncic.
Well, in the same way that, people get angry in the World Cup, like the Argentinians were always really racist to the French, where they're like, oh, yeah, the French, you guys won the World Cup, did you? Or was it your colonies in France that won you the World Cup? Because everybody in the team is an immigrant from the places you colonized. Whereas the Germans don't have many colonies, so they were like, yeah, we're actually the best of the whites. Now, they obviously thought they're superior to blacks too, but I think that was what his issue was when those Olympics were on.
So you're at the traffic light. I have to stay you on course here. I'm a bit stuttery today. I didn't sleep well last night. So you're at the traffic light. Up drives a guy. He's playing Hail Hitler, right?
Yeah.
And you think the tune's quite good, and he had it blaring. What did the guy look like? He was in the car.
A Hasidic Jew. No, he was just like a bro. with like he was like, you know what? He looked like tats on the neck. He was like, he
Right.
might have been some kind of Latino.
Okay, but he could have been a white supremacist type of a guy.
Nah, definitely not.
What,
Was not
with
like a
tattoos
white
on his neck?
supremacist.
There's never been a white supremacist with tattoos on their neck.
Nah, but it was like, you know, he definitely was not white.
So he was a
I'll put it that way.
hipstery Latino guy.
Yeah, mixed race guy of some background. Not this was not a guy in a pickup truck.
Okay, so
I'm
Amos,
saying?
Amos, you have children, right? Let's say you have children in the future, right? Might happen.
Yeah.
Right. Your kid starts playing in the room. What do you do?
What, Heil Hitler, the song?
Yeah.
I'd be
after
very.
you stop your foot from tapping.
Oh, I would probably think I shouldn't have forced them to listen to so much Hunters and Collectors. And now they're listening to this to punish me for pushing 80s, 90s pub rock.
By the way, the rest of the world doesn't know the band Hunters and Collectors. It sounded racist what you just said. You said, oh, I should have made him listen to those bloody Hunters and Collectors.
Yeah. Those tribesmen.
Right. Hunters and Collectors, an Australian band from the 1980s and the 1990s who pub rock from Australia. Pub rock from Australia.
Well, I actually just couldn't get over what a crazy time we live in where legitimately the biggest black artist of my time, him or Jay-Z, right? Me growing up, they're like the two dominant forces. You have to just laugh the simulation of the world we are in now, that I'm walking with a bagel in New York.
The biggest black artist of my time was fucking Kids. So it all goes around the circle. My generation, we still listen to Michael Jackson playing in the state. You know, there's a second documentary for Leaving Neverland, right? There's Leaving Neverland 2, which aired on, I believe, Channel 4 in Britain. I can't get it over here. I really want to see the second part of that documentary. I enjoyed the first part, and I want to see the second part, and I can't see it anywhere in America.
So you know what I'm looking at now is I'm trying to make sure that I am somewhat correct with this Jesse Owens thing, because I don't want to be out there going that
he
loved
like Jesse Owens. You didn't like him.
Okay, this isn't the Britannica thing, right? I just want to get this, and then we'll finish. After the Olympics ended, stories circulated that Owens was snubbed by Hitler, and it was circulated globally. As the most common variant of the story goes, after Owens won his medal, Hitler not wanting to acknowledge any non-Aryan's ability left the stadium. Although Owens himself initially insisted that it was not true. The report appeared in newspapers around the world. It is true that Hitler did not shake hands with Owens. In fact, he did not congratulate any of the medalists at the first day of the competition on August 2nd, 1936, probably because he was fucking tweaking out on the meth he was on. On the first day, Hitler met and shook hands with all the German gold medalists. That like Hitler left the stadium before African-American high jumper Cornelius Johnson won his first gold. Hitler's staff maintained he had a pre-scheduled appointment. Hitler was reprimanded, and the head of the IOC, Henri de Ballier-Latour, told him that he could either congratulate all the gold medalists or none. Hitler chose to honor no one.
Right, but if Jesse Owens didn't win the medal, would have he honored the others?
Oh, because I know I grew up thinking that like he was shaking hands and then he went, ugh. But he just
he left the stadium. There's the footage of him leaving the stadium. He sees like Jesse Owens run across the thing, and he gets up and leaves.
No, here we go. This is the quote that I wanted.
Why are you always defending Hitler? I'm
not defending Hitler. This is just interesting. Oh, I don't want that as the clip that goes on Instagram. Why are you always defending Hitler? And they're going, he was on meth. He was a drug addict. He was a drug addict. We all do bad things on the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like Russell Brand.
I used to live with him in a garage. I used to sleep next to him.
If only Hitler lived long enough for Bear Grylls to baptize him in the river and say he's born again.
I shaved his moustache in as a prank.
Okay, here we go. Owens did feel he was snubbed by someone. U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. A month after the Olympic Games,
that's because there were stairs involved.
Yeah, Franklin Roosevelt was just jealous of the legs. He had an issue with the able-bodied.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't meant to be there till the Olympics in 2 weeks, the special ones.
Hitler didn't snub me. It was Roosevelt who snubbed me. The president didn't even... This is a good one. The president didn't even bother to send me a telegram. There you go. That's
right, so you're saying Roosevelt was a worse guy than Hitler in Jesse Owens' eyes. Is this what you're going to tell me?
I think Jesse Owens was of the opinion, which a lot of black people would have been back there, was, okay, these Germans are bad, but we're not exactly being treated rosily at home in the United States
That's
either.
whataboutism. It's a load of rubbish. It's just something. But we're being treated badly here. Is your girlfriend just walked in the room?
It might be it might be someone saying, "Stop screaming Hitler."
I tell you, once I was in a hotel room down in Cornwall.
Hi there. Could I just have half an hour? Is that okay? Half hour's great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, you went to check out, are you?
It was a cop. No. It's just that's the housekeeping.
So I was once in a bed and breakfast in Cornwall, and this is back in the days of Discmans. This is before the iPod, right? So about 2003, 2002, and I was gigging in Cornwall in the south of England. It's where people go, "Oh, or like that, right?" So
That's where the pirate's voice actually came from. Their accent,
Penzance,
right?
Pirates of Penzance. Penzance is down in Cornwall, St Ives and all this type of stuff. It's a lovely part of the world. It's beautiful, but it's where the pirate voice came from. So I'm in the hotel room, and I've got my Discman, and I was listening to John Lennon's greatest hits, incidentally. I was listening to Instant Karma's Gonna Get You, all right? And I had a porn magazine, because this is before phones with, footage, and I didn't have a DVD player. Used magazines back in the day. I had a porn magazine, I had my earphones on, and I was having a wank, right? And the maid walked in. Turns out she knocked on the door, but I couldn't hear, right? And I was in full fucking swing. I was in full swing in the middle of the bloody bed. She made an audible scream, and she left the room, and I took the headphones off, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, God. And she went, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She goes, I did knock. And I said, I'm really sorry. I just had my headphones on and I couldn't hear. Of course, I would have, not. I'm so sorry. Apologizing to each other, right? And then she goes, I was just bringing some towels. And I went, I'm going to need one. And she laughed. Anyway, cut to, because it's a bed and breakfast. She's the same lady I have to check out with the next day.
Oh my God.
Just the misery. And also because, and it's not like a hotel now where you just leave because you have the plastic sliding key. This is like a key with a big chain on it. And I had to hand it over to her like, how was your stay? I had a lovely stay. Thank you so much. Everyone was so hospitable.
You've cultivated a very warm and romantic environment here at the hotel.
Yeah.
You'd imagine most people that work in...
Could I suggest a porn channel?
If you're a maid at a hotel, how many people are you watching have sex and or masturbate a week?
I'm going to tell you a story. I can't tell you who this person is because this person is famous, but they told me this story in a dressing room. This person is the gay persuasion and used to get different male prostitutes in every town that he performed in, right? So I was performing with him, and he came back to the dressing room, and he goes, I've had a terrible day. I said, what happened? And he goes, I had this bloke laying on the ground, and I was squatting over his face with my dick in his mouth, and the maid came in, and she saw everything, and she looked me in the eye, and she goes, I'll turn that sign to do not disturb then, shall I? And he goes, it was so embarrassing. Anyway, this guy's quite famous, so I don't want to say who it was, but I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay. Well,
but I just a little
guess. Have a guess in the comments.
No, don't. I don't think they get it. Actually, I don't know if many people know, but yeah, he is.
Okay. Speaking of sick things happening in hotels.
Yes.
Not that I'm saying that gay acts are sick. I've already had quite the podcast with Hitler and whatnot.
You've been yelling Hitler at the top of your fucking voice the whole podcast.
You can do what you want. I'll finish my point from before. Yes, I don't think it's great to be playing that song out in public.
No, not out in public, Amos. Anywhere. You shouldn't be playing a song called Hail Hitler anywhere. Now, do I stand up for people's right to be able to do it? I guess so, but it does come under the hate speech, right?
No, it's the modern Skokie. Skokie, Illinois was about, freedom of speech for Nazis to march. And now I guess the white supremacist movement has gone so far that we now have a moment around a black rapper to be able to say that he is a Nazi over a hook.
Do you think he really believes he's a Nazi, or do you think it's just attention seeking?
I think he's got some issues with Jewish people because he feels that lawyers or whatever, his management and his breakup and whatever else has ruined his life. The bank that shut him out or whatever. I also think, dead set, this is like, I had a friend call me, a Greek friend, and he goes, oh man, in Greece, everyone's playing this song. He goes, with like they're selling like illegal CDs of it. And I said, that's crazy, man. Like this world's out of control. And he goes, it feels like the only taboo left. Like rock and roll, hip hop was always about taboos. And we've kind of killed every taboo that Kanye West is so obsessed with pushing the envelope and being hated. He's literally like, my cousin.
Just pause the whole show for a second. I got to answer this call. Man, I'll tell you what.
Who was that?
I'll tell you about. Okay, I have been on hold with ADT on and off, right? On and off for 7 hours in the last 3 days. One phone call was 5 hours. ADT had the worst customer service of any. You can put this on the podcast. I don't give a shit, right? But, yeah, they're the fucking worst. They are. I just was getting an upgrade. That's all I was fucking doing. They sent the wrong guy and they're this and that. Anyway, pain in the ass. Carry on.
They've been useless from the beginning. Yeah, all I was saying is I honestly think this guy understands that attention is the most valuable thing in the world in this market. And he was weeks before he was saying his cousin sucked him off then he said he's gay. And now he's like, I'm a Nazi, a white supremacist. It's anything to remain the most spoken about person in the world.
He's an attention seeker.
Yeah. So it's all about like taboo crushing. And we're kind of out of taboo.
As comics, we've done the same thing. We've done things where we go, this will get me a bit
We all
attention.
joke about people. Many people joke about Hitler and the most insane things to get laughs because you're not meant to. It's a taboo.
But you say something that's to get noticed that you could get in trouble. So the secret to stand-up comedy at the moment is to be just almost cancelable, right? Cancelable? Cancelable.
Yeah.
How do you say that?
Cancelable, yeah.
Cancelable. It's not an easy word. Is that a real word? Cancelable.
But if you look at rap, so this is the thing that I've been watching on. I've been reading some pages of people debating about the song and people saying there, well, you
need to have kids, man. The fact that you've got all this time to read pages about Kanye West saying he's a Nazi, this is the most pointless activity you could do in your life. Anyway, carry on.
No, but play it out. They were saying, well, let's just go back to singing songs about actual murders you've committed or sexual assaults you've committed. But if you say that you support a demonic and evil regime, then that's taken off. And so all these people were saying that Kanye has always been obsessed with the idea of how come you're allowed to rap? This is when he was a little pussy that wore polo shirts and backpacks and the early albums. He was like, why do I have to push being a drug pusher and a gangster and a murderer? And that's okay. So he loves playing with this. So what would you rather I rap about? Murder in Chicago?
Right, yes, I'd rather he rap about that. I think he knows more about
we
that.
would. Yes.
Yeah, I would rather he rapped about that than saying he's a Nazi, because the problem isn't Kanye West being a Nazi, and I'll do this again as a father, right? The problem is the kids listening to it and them fucking thinking it's cool to be a Nazi. It's the domino that gets pushed, and then the rest of them fall. Right? You love Kanye West. You've always loved Kanye West. You wore those fucking ugly ass shoes. I used to see you waddling around in those fucking Yeezy fucking.
No shoe better for the airport, mate.
Has there ever been an uglier sneaker on earth than the fucking shit that cunt produces?
Mate,
he's hopeless.
It's the slip-on, slip-off shoe if you don't want Skechers. It's always worked for me in that regard. No, I can't say I'm a huge lover of Kanye, the person, at this point, but
no. You're not going strong with it. But you were his biggest fan, but you're also a man in his 30s, right? You're in your fucking 30s.
I like
it's the dickheads who are 14 who are going to think it's cool. Then they're going to start tweeting, "I'm a Nazi," hashtag "I'm a Nazi," and then they're going to have problems getting jobs in the future. Then they have problems being on things like juries and stuff like that. Just some stupid song they listened to when they were a fucking kid. These things are detrimental.
No, I'm no doubt. But what I'm saying is then when you ban it, it's like, what have we learned from music and pop culture? If you ban something, what happens to it?
Okay, so let's think of songs that have been banned through history, right? So the Sex Pistols, God Save the Queen, there was no number one in the charts. They just took the number one away. It was just blank, right?
Yes.
Because it was the Queen's birthday weekend, and that song had gotten to number one, and the authorities called up the BBC, and they said, on top of the pops, there will be no number one this year, right?
Okay.
And that song has carried on for fucking ever because of it, and it's a shit song at the best of times, right? It's garbage.
But this is what I'm angling down on. This is the crazy thing about the openness of the world now is you have the ability to get a song like this out from a very popular person, and then everyone goes, it's banned, you can't access it. We've known forever that banning things makes them iconic and makes people want them more because everybody loves to push back against sort of taboo and they don't want me to listen to this, and so I listen to this. In fact, it used to be that people would be so desperate to be censored because it would mean their shit sells. Even in comedy, I'm not allowed to say this. They banned me. That's how half the hacks are getting famous today.
Yeah.
Used to be told that, my comedy's too edgy.
We are fueling Kanye right now by talking about it. Donald Trump doesn't exist if CNN didn't talk about him nonstop. CNN got Donald Trump voted in because they covered every fucking rally he ever did, thinking he would never be voted in. They thought, this guy's great for ratings. We'll talk about him at nauseum, right? Now, we're talking about Kanye. Kanye should be gone away by now. I've never thought the cunt was any good. I never thought any of his songs were good. What's his best fucking song? It's all shit.
Jesus Walks.
It's all fucking
Jesus
shit.
Walks.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's all shit. It's all fucking.
But we're not
John
big rap
Denver.
people.
He wrote lovely tunes, lovely tunes that you could sing along to. They had bloody wonderful musicians that could play their instruments.
Yes, almost heaven, Aryan Republic.
Thank God I'm a Nazi boy. Well, I got me. Well, I got me a fire knife. I got me old widow. The sun's coming up. I gotta keep on the griddle. Life ain't nothing but a funny, dirty riddle. Thank God I'm a Nazi boy.
You're leaving on a choo-choo train. Don't think I'll ever see you again.
That was not fun. You ruined it now. The joke was going really good. That was a clippable moment. You fucked it.
I'm just saying.
Clippable moment.
It's the same.
We could have been something then. We could have gone viral, and you fucked it. You brought the trains into it,
mate. We should get up to where I'm about to say it, and then we go. But YouTube said no. Watch the Patreon to hear the gag.
We should cut it out right there. Patreon, where our real John Denver Nazi lyrics can be heard. You fill up, mate. Don't finish it.
Yeah, mate, the whole world's cooked. It's generally it's psychotic. I often think we're living in a fucking simulation at this point that's run out of ideas. The video game's just like, when you're playing Grand Theft Auto and you've got 5 stars and you're in a helicopter, things are crashing, there's cops chasing you everywhere. That's what it feels like right now to be in the world. Like,
new Grand Theft Auto's coming out, 2026. Looking forward to it. I haven't played one for a while. It's been about a decade, hasn't it? It's been a long time since Grand Theft Auto.
I'd like to do another piece of news.
And also, my son's going to be 13 when Grand Theft Auto comes out, right? And so, do I let him play it? Of course, you sort of do because it's racing cars and it's shooting things. And I let him play Call of Duty, and he's a good kid, not those stuff. But there's the bit where you basically you beat up a prostitute after you have sex with her and take her money. Like, there's some pretty harsh things in the old.
What? You're going to sit your son down and go, look, mate, when you have sexual relations with a sex worker, she's worked hard and you pay her. And
sex workers work. Sex workers work. She's earned that money. Don't beat her up afterwards. Don't beat her up afterwards and take the money. If anything, you might say thank you. We'll do it again sometime. I appreciate your time. Did you appreciate mine? Right? Yeah, of course. Well, here's another thing, because I'll be playing Grand Theft Auto with him. Do I tell him about these things that you can do?
Well, I think you might get a bit carried away and go, and then you have sex with a sex worker, and then you run over and you get the money. That's what I used to do anyway.
You run over and get the money. Oh, they've taken it out of this game. They don't do that anymore, do they? Oh, they got rid of it. Back in my day, we used to. Well,
I've got some news for you. I got to get this thing back on track. I've derailed us into all sorts of areas. I want to talk about another big news story. Yeah, you ready for this one?
I'm so ready.
Here I am reading the paper in New York. There's a trial today.
Papers. You're insane.
Okay. They're in the lobby. Okay. I love the paper, the tangible paper. Diddy's trial has been
I know,
kicking off
this is something I have watched. This is something I have
in
watched.
New York. Now, there was
Some
a
male
line in the paper.
prostitutes are pretty upset. Some male prostitutes have come forward.
As a man who, if I didn't do comedy, would have been a criminal defense lawyer and a very mediocre one, I would have never got to work on this. I am obsessed.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with people's defenses. So we know Diddy has been accused of some pretty egregious stuff. I'd like to read some excerpts of the court today that I think are quite illuminating and hilarious. The defense that he's using is that essentially he and his partner were swingers and they would get people in for sex parties, and that was just their proclivities of their relationship. The sex worker that they would bring in was a man named Daniel Phillip, who said he would be paid up to $6,000 a pop for the sex session, which went on for a few years, including at spots such as, and if you're ever booking a trip to Manhattan, you want to know which hotel you'd like to get, Manhattan's posh Gramercy Park Hotel and the historic Essex House Hotel. Near the park there. I know that one.
Okay, so far, I have no problem with this. If the man wanted to be, because we come from a country with legalized prostitution. I've traveled the world. I think prostitution should be legal. That's my stance on it so far. Yeah. Let's carry on.
Now, here we go. During one alleged encounter, Diddy ordered the pair to use more baby oil. The sex worker Daniel Phillip said, "Y'all need to rub more baby oil on each other. You don't have enough on," Coombs is alleged to have said. But one of Combs' lawyers said during her opening statement that while there would be testimony about the client's domestic violence and swinger lifestyle, kinky sex and baby oil, that doesn't make him a sex trafficker. And then here we go. I quote, this is Diddy's defense. "This was a toxic relationship, yes. And although toxic at times, like any other relationship can be," defense lawyer Tenny Gregeros of Combs Ventura said, "You may know, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, of my client's love of baby oil. But I ask you, is love of baby oil a federal crime? No, it is not."
No, it's not. I don't like it. I always get like, when I put baby oil on it, I get ingrown hairs. Gets in my pores. I can never wash it off. I don't like the stuff. I'm a dry wanker. Did you know that about me?
I've never used a cream or ointment of any variety.
I'm a dry wanker. I just go dry.
You know what it is? I just think like you love yourself a bit much if you're organising creams and whatnot. Like I'm not there to make it a sensual experience. I'm releasing a demon.
Yeah, I'm here so I can get on with my day. I'm not going. I'm trying to move.
I need aloe vera.
It's 1 o'clock. I want to get to 2 o'clock. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, I'm flogging my cock for 2 minutes so I can get on with my day. I'm not. It didn't get burnt, and I need to apply cream.
Yes.
Like I've been sunbathing with it.
Yes. I've been angry. I need to calm down. This will sort it out.
Yeah, we're stoics, you and I, like the great Marcus Aurelius.
They don't make men like us anymore. This young generation, all lubed up. Jack, are you a lube guy?
No.
You're not a lube guy?
No.
And you're circumcised?
Yes.
You had to check if he was circumcised. Jack went like this.
Second shirt was the opposite.
Yes. Yeah, I pull the foreskin up a bit. Look, let's all remember that I'm a game show host, all right? So everyone just calm down with this conversation. We got to speak properly.
I did actually that, yeah. I'm thinking back to a lot of the conversations. I'm not sure where we're going at the moment. So the Diddy trial is underway. Could you imagine being on that? Because for the Americans who don't know, I'm from a city called Adelaide, which is famous for murder.
I like that. The headline's got to be, "Did he?" ? That's. I should work for a newspaper right away.
I think this one would be like slippery defense. Slippery defense lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, essentially saying that, you know, or it's like, oiling someone up with baby oil wasn't the crime. It was the filming it, blackmailing people, raping them.
It's the rape and the extortion and all this type of stuff. He's a bad dude, and they keep on focusing on the baby oil. He had so much baby
like he's
oil.
kinky. Yeah, he's kinky. Like we're attacking him for being kinky.
It's like that was his thing. There's worse things than baby oil. There's worse stuff than baby oil. It's meant for babies.
Yeah. Ted Bundy. Oh, he liked spanking them. No, murdering them. I don't care if you spanked them on the way in.
Yeah.
He murdered them at the end. Oh, you're kink shaming me.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, is it a crime to be a homosexual? Is it a crime? Is it a federal crime to be gay? Well, if you fucking kill them afterwards, it is. Homophobes abound.
We have footage of the guy being very violent. There's so many ways to put Diddy in prison for a very long time, and baby oil isn't the way.
And the other thing is, I think we'll probably find out he probably killed Tupac.
You think he's the guy who killed Tupac?
It may be, yeah.
For sure?
All these conspiracies are, I don't know for sure, but it seems like anyone
Tupac
who
for
crossed
sure?
him.
Oh, nice.
Tupac for sure. You killed Tupac for sure.
That's good.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, this is what I mean
That's
about
the
like.
last bit of news I watched.
This is what I mean about like the simulation's coming to the end. We're going to find out who killed Tupac. Diddy's in jail. Kanye's got a song about Hitler. We've got Donald Trump making deals over there in the Middle East. Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister.
You look at rock and roll as good, clean fun now. People going like this. They go to AC/DC and they're like, "We're going to do a bit of rock and roll for you," and you're like, "Ah." And like it's pretty family. I took my 12-year-old to see AC/DC on Good Friday, listening to Highway to Hell, and we were singing about hell, and it was just family fun.
Mate, now in the world we live in now, Highway to Hell is the equivalent of me being like, "Let's do the twist."
Exactly. Isn't it? I want to hold your hand.
Yeah, we're such a dark group of human beings. All right, so Diddy trial is one that we're going to be watching, and we'll update you with whatever's going on there. And then
get all your Diddy information here.
Keir Starmer, we should talk about this quickly. This is another thing. Everything that all the populist movements around the world obviously are interested in immigration.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer has given a speech saying that Britain has become an island of strangers and they need to limit immigration. And one of the things that's causing some furore is he said that everyone should have to speak English, which is interesting because he's part of the left-wing Labor government. I mean, people would say they're not that left-wing.
He said the speech in English, right? So how are the people going to learn if he doesn't do it in other languages first? How are they going to know what he said?
Look, I can't fault your logic.
Yeah. So the information isn't getting out there. It's not getting out there. We understood because we're good with the English words.
Because we're smarter than those fools who only know 1.5 languages. We know one.
Dummies
it's the best
in other countries. English is the best language. I will die on this hill. No other language is better. Easiest one to understand. I found it the easiest to learn as well. I've tried to learn other languages since. I can't do it. English, I picked up English when I was a child. That's how easy. I was like 2 and I picked up English. That's how easy English is.
Yeah, so
I tried German in university. I was in my 20s. Couldn't fucking do it.
These Libyans coming here to Britain can't speak something I knew at 3. Shameful.
Yeah, if I could learn, I have a 3-year-old in the house, full sentences, tells me about his day in English.
You said it, mate. So we're with Keir. We're with Keir on that.
His Mexican nanny is finding it very hard to understand him. She didn't learn English quick enough.
Other news for you, Gavin Newsom, closer to us in California, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is discussing breaking up homeless camps.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this?
I think with because I live in LA, the homeless problem is way out of control. We pay a lot in taxes. The problem with LA is it literally has the greatest weather on earth. It rains for about 20 days out of the year. I'm being literal, like 20 days out of 365 days it will rain. It's a very moderate temperature. It's not a sweaty temperature. If you are homeless, where else would you go? It really is the best place to live if you're homeless, right? So we're being punished for our beautiful weather, right? The cold places like, oh, they got problems over there in LA with the homeless. Yeah, because your ones die. Our ones flourish. Right? So
they flourish.
So now Newsom wants to move them on. They have to constantly keep moving. You're allowed to tent up.
Well, he's got a rule saying, so no enclaves. And then he says, any more than 3 days that you'll be like forced on. So he's essentially moving them into some sort of roaming hunter-gatherers, you could say.
Well, is it out of the realm? Okay, is it out of the realm? And I know this sounds very harsh, to have shanty-type towns way on the outskirts like you do in South Africa. Like, is this...
Well, that seems to be... Well, that would
because
justify...
we have a lot of desert between us and Palm Springs, right? In LA, we have a lot of desert.
But
between us.
yeah, but this is the
and
thing.
then
Is this the world we want?
Between Palm Springs and Las Vegas, we have a lot of desert as well. It's just desert.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying is this is the world we're ending up in. We're ending up with people having mega estates and then shanty towns.
Yeah, but I'm not saying. Well, it's better than what's going on right now. What's going on right now is tents just popping up, tent cities popping up, being taken down. Tents. Fires are happening because of the tents, because they're having little cookouts in their little fucking tents. Why don't we put a whole lot of shipping containers and stuff, or just make a whole lot of stuff and go, good luck.
I mean, we could also try and
America will never do what Australia and Britain does. They will never give housing to the poor. They will never give 365 days for the rest of your life the unemployment benefits that you get in these other countries, right?
Mental health
You're
treatment.
on your own. There's no health care. So we all got big fences up. It's becoming South Africa already. It's already becoming. People have big fucking fences, big alarm companies, cameras all over your fucking house and all that type of stuff. And what else are we going to do? You can't just have them on your street, can you? You pay your taxes.
I live down by the beach, and I do sometimes. I'll be going for a walk. I go down the really expensive parts of California. Like I go to Manhattan Beach and these areas. And these homes, my favorite thing in the world to do, by the way, is open houses. I talk about this in my act a bit, but I'll tell you here. My girlfriend and I, we go to open houses for homes worth $35 million. And we just wander around. And our favorite thing to do on a Sunday afternoon, after we get brunch, is to take a tour of a $30 million beach home and talk shit about it to the agent. And then you just go, I don't like the finishing. Who did the finishing? I think this is quite gauche. It's very tacky. And they'll go, oh, yeah, really? Oh, this isn't your stuff. We've actually got something that's opening up in the Orange County if you'd like to go and see that. And you go, no, if it's anything like this, we're just not interested. It's just and then you get on the bus and go back to your studio apartment. But for a moment, you feel like you're a rich, powerful person. You get dignity for just a moment. But when I go to these places, I often notice a tent out the front.
Get dignity for just a moment.
Yeah, you get the way they treat you.
Your whole week is building up to one moment of dignity.
Exactly.
As you shit on someone else's house. And you're here going, we can't have these shanty towns. I'm a person who I want welfare for everyone. We pay so much in taxes. Stop making weapons. Stop fucking feeding the war machine, right? Focus on the homeless.
Yeah.
Focus
what I'm
on
saying
the mental health of soldiers who have come back. Focus on medical care. You could fix this country very easily with the taxes we got. But no, you spend it all on fucking war.
I am not I'm not at all wealthy, right? I'm like a battler in America, like truly a battler. Right? I say this all the time.
You're in a $900 a night hotel. Just so we're clear, your career's going very well. You're a very expensive hotel in the middle of Manhattan right now.
No, my girlfriend. Is that a
bottle of wine behind you that you're going to crack open later, pauper?
Listen, I am struggling.
Yeah. Are you drinking water from a third world country?
We're getting that in. I'm drinking my Fiji water, which is obviously it's an economically destroyed nation. That's what I've been reduced to, is drinking this Fiji.
I hope you're paying tariffs on that. These Fijians have been getting away with too much for too long. The Fijians imagine in the trade deficit. They're not good for us. The Fijians sitting pretty there with their good water.
Imagine being a kid in Fiji taking an extra long shower. Your dad would be furious at you. How much money are you wasting?
You know, in Fiji, they're drinking water from fucking Connecticut.
Yeah. No, but I'm not. No, my girlfriend has a very good job, and we're staying in this nice hotel. But my point being, I go out to these really expensive houses, and there's a tent out the front of a lot of them, right? Like on the beach.
To show you what you can afford.
You got to think, though, I'm spending a lot of money living in a shoebox in an apartment complex near the airport. And there's a homeless person. Once you liberate yourself from the idea of possessions, you get a tent. You do think people are spending $30 million for this view. And this bloke set up a tent and he's on the beach. The guy in the house is out there scamming people or selling weapons or being a surgeon, whatever these scumbags are doing to make that much money. And you go, who's living a better life? They got the same view. Like, I could see why you go to the beach. To be
Arguably,
homeless.
the guy in the tent's got the better view because he's got the beach and the nice house
This is
to
what
look
I'm
at.
saying.
The
And
guy in the
no
house
one-
has to look at the tent.
The guy in the house is leaving to the office at 6 a.m. And this guy wakes up to the sun. And the guy in the office who's, I don't know, let's say he's a heart surgeon, he gets back to his house. And what does he see? He sees a man laying in a tent in front of him thinking, that fucking guy didn't have to do anything for that view. So I see why these rich people are like, these fucking paupers are
Didn't
destroying
have to
it.
do anything. He had to walk there, first of all. Right? He didn't drive there.
But I get a kick out of it every time I think, these fucking finance hedge funders, that's the only people who can afford this. These people who move money around, who don't really contribute much as far as building great things. Or I'm glad their view is ruined by homeless people out the front who get just as good a view as them. It brings me the greatest joy to know that gets a stick in their fucking craw.
What do you think the answer to the homeless problem is then? Because if Newsom says we just got to keep moving people, they got to move somewhere. I think
about this a lot as far as public housing. Okay, so the problem with public housing is I support public housing. It's always fucking ugly. It's like, particularly being Eastern European, coming from the communist bloc, I go back to Croatia and you see where communism was involved. It's a stain on the architecture. Anywhere, like in Poland, in Hungary, all these countries, they're fucking rough concrete blocks that destroy the human soul. And looking at them, it's like, how hideous is it? What if I don't know if we can get nicer public housing blocks, or we give them housing blocks that are underground so we don't have to see them.
like in Vegas.
Yes.
You ever seen the mole people in Vegas? Watch a documentary. It is so upsetting, the mole people in Vegas, man. They've got all these like bits, canals and stuff underneath because it's so hot they can't live above the ground.
I know.
There are thousands of homeless people living underneath Vegas. It's really weird. And there's this one guy, he's like, well, I used to run a hedge fund and all that type of stuff. And then, I just couldn't live with my wife anymore. And you're like, does someone have a gambling problem? I think someone has a gambling problem because you're living under the ground in Vegas. Have you watched that documentary? There's like a fucking...
I have. It's honestly, it's one of my favorites. And this week in
I've
the
watched
news...
it a couple of times, but you can only come so many times.
I watched last week. Remember I said to you about the government spending 20 trillion or whatever the fuck it was to build underground cities? I just think, let's just move. We spent the money. Originally it was for the elites, but the elites have created a system so unfair we have homelessness. Give the homeless people the underground bunkers that were for the elite. Put them in there. That way the rich don't have to see them. The homeless get a home. This could be a good way to meet in the middle. Is the homeless go into the bunker system underneath Denver Airport, and they create their own mole-like groups.
Underneath Denver Airport is the bunkers that the Illuminati have set up so as to when the president needs to go somewhere, when the nuclear holocaust happens, that's where they're going to live, and that's where America's going to rise from the ashes in Denver.
Yes.
Underneath the airport.
Into the mountains.
Okay.
Yes. And they do it here and in Switzerland.
I couldn't do it. I don't do well with altitude. I'd rather be homeless here and just die. Whenever I built a bunker in my house, people seem to want to really live in this world, don't they? It's like, I got a bunker in my house in case a nuclear bomb drops. Just call it a day.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, have you ever? I'm not sure if
I've got
you've
to
watched
live in
any
there
of
for
these
10
shows.
years eating beans, do I? Nah, I just call it a day.
Who watches
Life's
the,
short already.
Imagine watching The Walking Dead and going, I'd want a part of that. What's that?
Well, that's LA for you, no, buddy. All right, so
Well, anyway, I've got some other news stories if you want to. We should probably wrap it up.
Wrap up. I think we've talked a lot about Hitler and masturbating this episode. I think we've covered all the hot topics.
Nothing else in your world you'd like to discuss?
Well, no. Me and I'm recording this special. That's all I'm focused on at the moment is doing that. When I say all that I'm focused on, I should be doing more work, but I'm thinking about it. And the Snake's coming out. The 1% Club just is killing it in the ratings in Australia. So thank you to everyone watching the 1% Club. I love doing that show, and then so that's good to go. I don't do political talk shows anymore. I'm a game show host, and for $100,000. It's good. You know what's good about being a game show host? You get to give money to people. You're making people happy all the time. It's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fun.
Why don't you put the homeless on game shows? They're the ones that need the fucking prize.
Well, they're not smart enough, are they? They can't get the questions right. They could possibly win the floor. They could possibly win the floor because the floor. What is your specialty topic? Homeless tents. That's what you call a bindle. That's a handkerchief on the end of a stick.
No, I think homeless.
That's a dreadlock.
A lot of homeless people hyper focused. Did I ever tell you about the homeless guy that lives
they'd
near
crush
me?
the floor, and also they'd get a week of the floor. So they'd be like, if you were homeless, wouldn't you want to enter Big Brother? You'd be like, oh, I want to go on Big Brother. And then
That's what I mean. I think we should put the homeless in a dystopian future, just only the homeless on there to win these games. There's a homeless guy next to me. You know what he says to me every day? He wanders around, and he always goes, "Don't drink the water." And I go, "How come?" And I'm one of the few that talks to him because I've got no life. You know, I'll sit down. He goes, "They're shrinking people." I said, "Who?" He goes, "The government puts shit in the water to shrink you because human beings used to be giants and the elites make us poison and stay small because if we all weren't poisoned with the shrinking fluid, we'd overrise them all. So don't drink water and you'll be 12 feet tall."
So how's he staying alive? There used to be a bloke in Venice.
He goes out of like a puddle or something. I don't know.
There used to be a bloke in Venice when I lived there called Knuckles, and Knuckles was like a legless bloke on a skateboard who used to just drag himself around with his knuckles, like just.
Yeah.
And these knuckles were these gnarled up, fucking, like good to go, and he always had a pretty sunny disposition. I always used to look at him and I used to think, this guy's just got a skateboard and no legs, and he's always got a smile. Maybe there's something to it.
There is. Well, listen, we spoke about the Dalai Lama being an American next. An American homeless person with a sunny disposition is as good as the Dalai Lama can be, because the whole point of that is liberate yourself from wants and possessions and just lay on the beach in California and be at one. And maybe that's a good place to end, is that the American homeless are the real heirs of the Dalai Lama because they have freed themselves of the system and they are happy with the sunshine.
The American dream is being homeless.
That is peak American dream, is to realize it was a nightmare all along. And the real dream is to live in a community of shanty tents on the beach. That's God's real gift, the ocean. Good night, Australia.
Good night, everyone.